Hello, everyone. My name is Dan Lust. I am a New York-based attorney. I'm a sports law professor at New York Law School. Alongside me today is my podcast co-host on Conduct Detrimental, Dan Wallach. Dan, why don't you give everybody a brief introduction to who you are and a little bit about your practice?
Sure. Thank you, Dan. Besides being the co-host of Conduct Detrimental, I'm a sports wagering and gaming attorney where I work with companies in the regulated sports gambling and gaming industry. I have my own law firm, Wallach Legal LLC. I'm based in Hallandale Beach, Florida. I also teach sports wagering law at University of New Hampshire School of Law and at the University of Miami School of Law. And I do a lot of sports law commentary, not only with Dan, but on Forbes. And I also occasionally contribute articles to The Athletic as a legal analyst.
So why is everyone listening to us today? We kind of mentioned it. We are the co-hosts of the Conduct Detrimental podcast. We cover all things at the intersection of sports and law. Today, we're going to walk you through a very unique legal controversy pertaining to the St. Louis Rams. Now, if you're sitting here and you're like, what legal controversy relating to the St. Louis Rams? The St. Louis Rams don't even exist anymore. Well, that's actually what we're going to be talking about. Once upon a time, the greatest show on turf took place, as they would call it, with Kurt Warner, with Marshall Faulk, with Isaac Bruce, with Torrey Holt, with Mike Martz as the coach. That was this great NFL franchise called the St. Louis Rams. Now, if you're wondering what happened to those Rams are now based in Los Angeles. So this is a story about how the team relocated from St. Louis. The franchise relocated from the St. Louis Rams. They became the Los Angeles Rams. And the lawsuit, the 9-figure, potentially 10-figure lawsuit that resulted from the violation or alleged violation of the NFL's relocation guidelines. So our presentation today, the spirit of St. Louis, the future of NFL team relocations. So, we kind of set the stage. You got two lawyers, two professors. We're going to break this down. It's a very complicated lawsuit moving in a number of different directions. We've got breach of contract principles. We have fraudulent misrepresentation principles, unjust enrichment principles. So we've tried to pack this into an hour. There's going to be certainly some things that we can't get to, but if you sit back, we tried to hit as much things as we can. So Dan, I will turn it over to you for a little bit of our course description of what we're going to try to hit today.
Sure. Thanks, Dan. Now, relocating a professional sports franchise is not quite like relocating a family to another city. It's not as simple as selecting a new city, building a new stadium, and then changing the team's name. There's a lot more to it. So in this course, we will analyze some of the major obstacles, legal obstacles, to relocating a professional sports team, specifically the St. Louis Rams, where a beloved NFL franchise moved from the Midwest to Los Angeles. And we will also examine the legal battle that ensued and the future ramifications and implications for sports teams looking to relocate. So in setting the stage, our learning objectives for this CLE will be, number one, we're going to examine the background and evolution of the NFL's relocation policy. Number two, we're going to break down the driving factors, integral issues, and essential details of the St. Louis Rams relocation lawsuit. And third, we're going to consider the overarching implications for future sports franchises looking to relocate.
So I guess, Dan, let me, before we get into the, the legalese, right? This is we're a sports law podcast. We get to break it down for sports fans. And then at the end of the day, you and I, we make a living based on our legal background. But let's set the scene a little bit, right? I grew up as a fan of the St. Louis Rams. That's what I grew up, watching them. But before that, right, they weren't always the St. Louis Rams. So Dan, why don't you set the scene for us as far back as you want to go? But I think it's important to the history of the Rams franchise. I think it tells a lot about the story.
Sure. For those, who are older law students, you might remember Vince Ferragamo and the 1979 Los
Angeles. Lawyers, Dan. This is for everybody. It's not just for law students.
Okay.
How old are these law students? What are they in their 70s? They're old law students.
Yeah. The Rams have a steeped historic tradition in Los Angeles going back to the 1950s, 1960s, 1970s, 80s, and so forth. So for many years, the Rams played in Los Angeles, but in the early 1990s, Giorgio Frontieri, who was then the owner of the Rams, was interested in leaving Los Angeles and moving to St. Louis. So back in 1995, the Rams moved from LA to St. Louis, and they played their games for 20 years. From 95 to 2015, the Rams played at the Dome in St. Louis, Missouri. Nicknamed the greatest show on turf, the St. Louis Rams record-breaking offense won the 1999 Super Bowl championship, and a few years later, the Rams began struggling. They failed to qualify for the playoffs for 11 straight seasons, but despite that, there was still considerable, fan support. They had seating attendance or attendance in the building of 80% or more for 19 out of the 20 years they played within St. Louis. So there was considerable fan support. And then, in 2016, and we're going to set the stage for the story, the Rams owner, Stanley Kroenke, filed for relocation to Los Angeles. And we're going to kind of go through the procedural and legal steps attendant to an NFL team relocation.